In progress.
All right. Hello, gang. This is Coach Chris. I am here to present the Master the Marathon seminar for the New York City Chicago Marathon. I'm putting this together to give you my tips about the New York City Marathon in particular, and more specifically for my big charity team, Team Den AIDS, that I'm head coach for, but really for any athletes that are doing the New York City Marathon. This is one of the best weeks if you're in New York, one of the most exciting weeks of the entire year if you're a runner, just because of the number of people and the amount of excitement around the New York City Marathon every year. It's one of my favorite events to do. And yeah, we'll dig in and talk about it. But to get you excited, let's watch a little video.
She is the champion of the TCS New York City Marathon.
Day is almost here, the TCS New York City Marathon.
Final preparations are in full swing.
Over 50,000 strong. Everyone has that buzz. Everyone's got that New York City energy.
Let's go, New York!
I get chills just thinking about being on that start line.
It makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
Let's go, New York!
It brings this city together.
I will cherish this. Thank you so much.
More than 1,000 kids tested their speed and endurance.
When you invest in track and field, you invest in the future of those kids.
That's what makes this event special, is how much we focus on every single person who toes the line and gives running a shot.
I love it, having the city come together and support and be behind these amazing runners.
They call it the best day in New York City. More than 50,000 athletes, 2 million spectators out on the course across the 5 boroughs.
Good morning, runners. Have a great race today.
Well, we bring people from all walks of life, and I wanted to be part of that.
Wild crowds in Brooklyn and Manhattan. We're stoked for that. Who doesn't love a New Yorker?
The marathon is one of the hardest feats anybody can accomplish, and I want to be one of those to actually do it.
Athletes on the mark!
We got an upset in the city today, and he wins the TCS New York City Marathon, Daniel Romanchuk. Susanna Scaroni will take the victory in the women's pro wheelchair.
This is the race that we all wanted to see, the best in the world, all at each other.
Sheila Chepkarui of Kenya beats the field to win on this spectacular sunny day in New York. Abde Nagai, close here before, but this time he will be known as the TCS New York City Marathon Champion. Scene continues on this beautiful Sunday morning. Some 50,000 runners making their way the 26.2 miles. It's about to get loud up in here as they go down onto First Avenue. Those people there are crazy. They're loud, and there's energy, there's signs.
10.2 miles to go. This is all about the will.
The TCS New York City Marathon. It is the best day ever. The best day in New York, the best day in America, the best day in the world.
He just ran his first marathon, y'all!
It was beautiful.
Oh my God, it was amazing. I'd never felt so loved.
We did it, though.
We did it. I'm really, really grateful that I just did that.
Change your life and believe in yourself.
All right. Well, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. But yeah, we're going to cover a lot. We'll talk about the course. We'll talk about all the fun and amazing things that make New York, New York. So you can earn that finisher medal, just like my wife here back in 2022. We're going to go through tips. We're going to talk about the weather. We'll talk about spectating, and then I'm also going to cover some team-specific information for my Team Den AIDS athletes. So a little bit about me. I've run 44 marathons. I just turned 44 and did my 44th marathon just a couple weeks ago here in Chicago. I've run a good number of the marathon majors, including New York, Berlin, Sydney, Chicago, etc. I've done a lot, though, in endurance sports as a whole, more on the triathlon side. A lot of triathlons, a lot of Ironman races, but my background is in being a full-time coach is in metabolic testing. So I talk a lot about the metabolism behind optimizing your performance for things like doing a marathon. But I coach a lot of different teams, both charities and clubs, and worked with a lot of different tools. So I'm going to talk a little bit about as much as I can in about an hour here. So dig in. If you aren't familiar with T2, or if you are, I'll be excited to track you on race day. But if you want to join our team at any of the World Marathon majors, we have entries, guaranteed entries into almost every World Marathon major and other events as well, including the Chicago Triathlon, New York City Half Marathon. But you can train with us for any event of your choosing. We also have an individual challenge program. So be sure to check us out at t2ea.org and sign up for next year if you want to join us. So all the information I'm going to be going through today, I'm actually going to have this recording and a lot of other information too. I do a similar presentation for some of the other marathon majors as well. And I'll post this all on my website. So here is the QR code. Just go to 4starendurance.com/marathon. You can find podcasts, all different types of information that I have, as well as resources. If you really want to geek out on planning out your pacing and fueling and all that, I have some nerdy spreadsheets if you're into that, as well as some videos and tips on getting your equipment laid out before the race, little things you might not think about. So if you want to get any of those resources, be sure to check that out on the website. All right, so if you aren't going to listen to the whole presentation here, here's the Cliff Notes version. So my top 10 things. One, because New York is New York and there is a lot going on and it's a big logistical race to navigate. Make sure you are packing your gear early, ideally before you travel, so you can think through everything one last time. Make sure you start getting to bed earlier and earlier as well, because you will have an early wake up, and just getting around the city takes time. So prepare everything. Also try to sit down and spend a little bit of time just planning out your fueling, your pacing strategy, and any logistics, like where are you going to have dinner the night before, so you're not stressing about any of those details last minute. It is a big city, but a lot of people are looking to have their pasta dinners. So if you're looking for something like that, make sure you make a reservation. There are plenty of options, but it's always good to have that planned out ahead of time. There's also a runner guide that the New York Roadrunners sends out, so be sure to check that out. There's a QR code here for that. And also plan your transportation. They have a lot of information in the guide, but also in the phone app. So make sure you download the phone app. They just updated that. It's got all the information that you need in one place. So be sure to check that out. If you are looking to do a shakeout run, the little QR code here in the upper right is a handy little resource. There is an official race. The 5K that the New York Roadrunners puts on is the day before on Saturday. So it's good to know that that's taking place. If you have friends and family that want to do their own race before spectating for you. But that race is sometimes actually it's the national championships for 5K for USA Track and Field. So it is a huge event unto itself, and it's in Midtown. And it does block off a lot of city streets. So plan for that if you're trying to get around on Saturday morning. Traffic might be a little bit challenging, not just on race day, but the day before as well. So get to the expo early if you can. If you can get there Friday, get there early, and try to stay off your feet as much as possible the day before, just so you can really rest up. Always, as you're navigating, as you're traveling, whether you're flying in the day before, several days before, try to always have hydration and snacks with you. Carbo loading is okay. Coach gives you permission to have more candy, yes. Get those snacks in so you can carbo load for race day. And then also plan any spectator logistics. So if you have friends or family coming, talk to them about, what side of the street are they going to be on and where are they going to be if you want to try to find them. Because it is hard with 2 million spectators. It's almost impossible actually to find your cheer squads on the side of the road with the number of spectators out there. So plan where they are going to be if you can, and also where to meet up afterwards, because it is a big city. It takes you a while to walk out of the post-race area, and knowing where to go will save you a lot of hassle after the race too. Plan to have fun. I mean, this really is one of the most unique marathon experiences in the world. There are so many events going on, from shakeout runs to every brand and every company that's tied to running. I feel like they're somewhere in New York doing something exciting and fun. So it can be a little bit of an overload. So I don't recommend trying to do too much. Maybe post race, go and do some fun stuff. But a good website I always like to recommend is marathon-weekend.com. That's a website that kind of congregates all the different brand shakeout runs and YouTuber events that are going on. So if you do want to maximize your New York experience, be sure to check out that resource as well. One of my favorites. So New York, let's talk about the course. The last race last year, 2024, they had over 55,000 finishers. It was the world's largest. It usually shares that title. They go back and forth with Berlin and some of the other world marathon majors, but it is, and generally always has been, the world's largest marathon. So it is a unique event. The finish times can vary quite a bit. I've posted here the average finish times across the last several years. We did have a really, really hot year in 2022. The average finish time was actually 4 hours and 50 minutes. So it's a bit longer than what you would normally expect. The average is usually around 4.5 hours. It is a slower marathon course just because of all the bridges, and it has more elevation gain than pretty much all the marathon majors. So it is a hillier race. Don't expect to necessarily set a PR unless you're really dialed in and the weather is really ideal on race day. So here's a quick view. We're going to talk about this as we play this video. You do have to get to the start in Staten Island, the first borough of 5. First 2 miles, you're going up and over a bridge, so long uphill, long downhill. The course actually splits in 3 different routes and then merges. So by mile 8, you're running all together, and then you go through Brooklyn, and the entire first half of the race is actually in Brooklyn. A lot of party environments. And you go over the Pulaski Bridge at the halfway point and head to Queens for a couple miles. Your marathon experience in the city that never sleeps. So fun course. You can find those videos on YouTube if you want to watch them. But here's the start line. So it is a pretty epic start line. There are very few like this. You are here, right? You're at the start line, which means you have done the hardest part. You've done the training, right? So think of this as a victory lap. Just smile and soak in the unique experience that is the New York Marathon. The start line is pretty unique in that you have 3 different levels or 3 different lanes that you start in. 2 lanes go on the upper deck, 1 lane goes on the lower deck. So this is the lower deck start line and what it kind of looks like. So when you do line up in your corral, and then like I mentioned, we go through the 5 different boroughs of New York. So one of the world's largest cities. It is also part of the World Marathon Majors, which has a growing used to be a 6-star series, and now it's growing. They just added Sydney, and they're going to be adding 2 more marathons in the next couple of years. So be sure to check that out. They do some virtual challenges, and you can track your marathon finishes for all the majors. Now, the start line, this is a cool aerial view. It is a whole village. Some unique aspects besides how you're starting are the fact that, it creates such a unique atmosphere with, you've got helicopters flying overhead, you have the fireboats spraying water. It truly is a unique experience. So soak it in and don't worry about your splits that first mile, because it is all uphill for a mile and then all downhill for a mile. It's a 2-mile long bridge at the start. So make sure you start comfortably. One unique thing to know as well with this is there aren't any aid stations on the bridge. So you really don't get any aid stations until mile 3. There are also no spectators, so it's actually pretty quiet, other than the other runners who are excited. So be aware of that for the first couple of miles until you get into Brooklyn and off the off ramps of the highways that are on the bridge. But pace by heart rate if you can. Don't worry about your split. Don't try to, hit your split time going uphill on that first mile. And think about, you might want to bring your own hydration and fuel for those first couple miles, whether it's a handheld bottle or whatnot or something you can toss. So if you do want to have some hydration early on, either get it in before the start and then make sure you're fueling at that third or mile 3 aid station. So just a unique thing about the race. The first half is all in Brooklyn, so 13.1 miles after you come out of Staten Island, I guess. So maybe like 11-ish miles. And after about 5K, the courses kind of converge and they run kind of parallel to each other. By mile 8, it's really all together. There are a couple tight spots, so just be aware that as you make some turns through Brooklyn, some of the streets are a little bit tighter, but there are some very big avenues as well. And really just focus on your fueling plan and having a good time, soak in the atmosphere, give some energy out, you'll get it back in return, and just enjoy the experience. As you go through Brooklyn, you'll then head into Queens, and there's a little bridge, the Pulaski Bridge, and really just think about fueling. Get yourself ready because the harder part is definitely, I'd say, the last 10 miles. As you enter Manhattan, again, you'll hit another long bridge. It's a long uphill followed by a very steep, short downhill. So realize there aren't any hydration stations on this bridge either. So make sure you're fueling up well right before the bridge as much as you can. And just try to watch your heart rate. A lot of people, I think, begin to blow up on this bridge. You're about 16 miles in. So this is where if you're not careful or you get too excited and you pick up the pace, it can make for a very tough final 10 miles. So this is the bridge you're actually coming over. You come down the ramp here, the Queensboro Bridge, and then you do a sharp U-turn, and then you come down on First Avenue, make another turn. And this is where the roar of the crowds really, becomes so unique because you're going from a bridge with no spectators to then onto a city street with, I think, almost 1 million spectators just in Manhattan alone on this little stretch of road. But it is a pretty steep downhill. You'll see here, this is actually what the road looks like. You come down here, make this sharp kind of U-turn. So just, soak it up. Don't start running too fast. Don't get too excited. Just enjoy the energy of the crowd as you come down this U-turn onto First Avenue. And this is a long stretch. First Avenue can feel like a little false flat. It's a little bit rolling, kind of goes up and down. This is where you really begin to get tired. And it is very hard to find spectators. It's usually 10 people deep on both sides of the street in some parts. So if you are going to have friends or family spectating, just let them know what side of the street to be on, or have them tell you what side of the street to be on, because it can be hard to see them. And so pick a side that you're going to be looking at. It is a pretty wide street as well. This is also where people begin to really hit the wall. So if you're thinking about your fueling strategy, make sure you visualize that and plan that out. Usually we recommend 1 gel every 5 kilometers is a good fueling strategy, especially for a hillier course like New York. Then you get into the Bronx. Bronx, you'll have about 10K to go as you go through the Bronx, or as you're coming out of the Bronx. So you can think of the race sometimes as a 10-mile warm-up, right? As you're going through Brooklyn, another 10 miles where you're just fueling as well as you can. And then the race doesn't really begin until the final 10K. This is definitely the hardest part, right? So you really have to be on top of your fueling and hydrating to make sure you can finish strong through the hills that roll into Central Park. So watch your pace. It is sometimes hard to go by pace or split. So watch your heart rate if you can. Focus on breathing, right? The more oxygen you get in, the more your body can oxidize and metabolize your body fat stores for more fuel. So focusing on breathing and smiling and just soaking up the experience is the best way to pace out this race. And don't kick too early. It is a little bit of an uphill and rolling final couple miles. Now, some unique things people don't think about. You did the race. What do you do afterwards, right? Logistically knowing where to go. Make sure you look through all the details for that. They do give these nice ponchos, the hoodies that everyone takes home with them and saves, and wrap yourself up in those right away because it can get cool pretty quickly. The race starts late and finishes late, which is another very unique aspect. The other unique aspect is once you cross the finish line here in Central Park, you have a long walk over a mile of just walking up and then walking back down. And there are different exit points. So if you want to, get the shortest exit, usually 76th Street here is the shortest way to get out. We usually look for a restaurant. I think this was the one, Playa Betty's. It was a restaurant that we were picking because it was the closest to one of the exits. So if you have friends or family meeting you, think about where you might want to meet them if you want to pick a restaurant or location. There is a designated, what they call a runner reunite area down here towards the bottom with alphabetical letters for each block. So you can reunite with your family members in a specific area down here. But if you want to get out earlier, just know there are some earlier exit points as well. And if you did the bag drop, they'll have the bag pickup area along here as well. So just think about planning out where you want to meet post race. Sometimes people don't spend enough time to plan out the logistics and they're walking for a long time. So if you're going to take the subway or what. But all the information's on the website. I got a QR code here as well about the post race finish. So if you're looking for this map, that is where you can find it. Also post race, there, what to do afterwards. They do have seating tickets you can buy for the grandstands. So whether you have friends or family that want to do that, or if you want to do that afterwards, the finish line keeps going till about 10 p.m. The race starts late, and they really, most people don't realize, but if you're starting almost closer to noon, unlike other marathons that start earlier, you're going to be finishing as it's getting dark. Sunset is early. And so they really hype up the finish line with a laser light show and some cool vibes that really make a unique, city that never sleeps type of finish line experience. So if you do want to come back out, be sure to come back out and check out that finish line. There is also an official after party, so you can check out the details on the website. It's official New York Marathon after party, whole DJ party environment. And then also the New Balance store has gear as well that you can buy both online and at a couple places around the city. Okay, so here's the course. If you want to look at it in detail, this is an older map, but it gives you the idea of where everything is. So the colors have changed a little bit, I think. But generally the mile markers and everything are the same. The big thing is the bridge here in the beginning, right? First 2 miles, no aid stations. And then you finally get those aid stations at about mile 3. And they're pretty much every mile with a few exceptions. They do not have aid stations at mile 5, 7, and 9. So if you're thinking about your fueling plan, it's critical to get those hydration stations early on in, just so you're not falling behind on fueling and hydrating. They also have gels. The sponsor this year changed from SIS now to Morton gels. So they have if you haven't tried these, they're more gelatinous, kind of like a Jello shot, kind of like a liquidy thing that you can almost eat and chew. But they go down very easy, and they're made out of the cluster dextrin sugar, so not maltodextrin, but cluster dextrin. So basically, it just absorbs quicker. You can get more sugar in, digest it a little bit easier. I personally don't like the way the caffeinated gels taste. Those are in the white packaging. So I tend to stick to the black packaging ones or the regular gels. The caffeinated ones have a lot of caffeine too. So make sure you make note of that. But those are at mile 12 and 18. They used to have bananas at mile 21 and 23. Now they're just at mile 21. So they also have bananas late in the race as well. So if you're planning your fueling, be sure to check all of that out. Get familiar with where these hills are. The halfway point, 13.1, the Pulaski Bridge is right here. Doesn't look very big, but it definitely feels like a little bit of a hump. And then the Queensboro Bridge right here from mile 15 to 16 is that other big one as you go into Manhattan. But you'll notice also the last 5K here, right? Point to point uphill. A lot of rolling terrain as well. So be ready for that hillier finish compared to most marathons. Anyway, let's talk about the whole weekend. Lots of fun stuff going on. If you get in early, the thing not to miss is the finish line Parade of Nations. They have an opening ceremony. People walk and carry their country flags. You can spectate it. People get selected to walk in it as well, so that every country is represented with somebody carrying a flag. And I think we actually have one of our athletes carrying a flag this year, so be sure to check that out. Also, we do some team events, but in general, the major things to plan the day before are for New York are the bag drop. If you're going to drop a bag at the finish line, you actually have to go to the finish line area and drop it off where you pick it up on race day. So make sure you've checked over those details if you do want to take advantage of that. I did not. I just walked straight back to my hotel and had all my gear back in my hotel. But if you want to do the bag drop, you can make sure to plan to spend the time to get there and drop it off on Friday or Saturday. Make sure you set an alarm and maybe have a buddy system if you're worried about waking up on time. Have a friend or somebody else that you can make sure you hold each other accountable to waking up on time, or someone just to hang out with in the train, or in a cab or ferry or bus or however you're getting to the start line. Also, if you have support crew, make sure to thank them, thank your donors, maybe post some photos, tell them to track you on the app, send them some spectating info. And then finally, make sure you've got all of your nutrition planned and packed. So what you're going to have for breakfast, pre-race snack, your race fuel during the event, and maybe a little post-race snack too. The expo, let's talk about that as well. So the expo is one of the world's largest expos for runners. It is in the Javits Center, which is the biggest or one of the biggest convention centers in the world. It's on the west side. You'll have all the information. Make sure that you've got your confirmation email, the QR code for picking up your packet. They do have the bag check information as well. If you didn't pick your transportation option, or if you didn't pick the bag drop thing, or any of the details that you're stressing about last minute, they do have a designated area, a runner support center. You can go there, talk to them. They can get you handled if you needed to, change a transportation option or whatnot. It is first come, first serve, but they generally are pretty accommodating. So if you're worried about anything, just know at the expo, they have a lot of resources to help you take care of that. But you do have to pick up your own packet. So make sure you've got that all planned out and budget plenty of time for getting around the city back and forth, especially if you're going to the expo and to the bag drop. Now, the official transportation options, you should have picked that. If you missed the deadline, just go see them at the transportation desk at the expo. Also, mta.info is a good website for all the public transportation options in New York. If you don't know where everything is, just a quick explanation of everything. The Javits Center is on the west side here. You can see it is near some popular tourist attractions. So if you want to go see the High Line or the Vessel, those are all out by the Hudson Yards area. A big transportation hub, Penn Station, is just to the east of that. But the finish line and where what they call the New York Roadrunners Run Center, which is a store location basically, is up closer to Central Park. So make sure you're aware of that, because some people get confused. They think the New York Roadrunners Running Center might be the same thing as the convention center, and it is not. So just make sure you've planned out your logistics as you're getting closer to race day. All right, so now let's talk about the race day logistics. And this is a cool photo. This is the 3 different start lines. You can see the 2 upper deck levels and the lower deck level. It is quite a spectacle, a lot of runners running. Here's what it looks like from the other side. People going up over the bridge in 3 different lanes. I've kind of marked the lines there. They have a whole map and everything. You can scan this QR code if you want to check that out. So it takes a village to run a marathon, and they literally create a village. 50,000 or 55,000 plus runners get divided up into these different zones. You can cross over if you're with a friend. You can bump into each other and mix in the middle open zone, but you can actually, I think you can walk into all of the different color zones just fine. If you do want to run together with somebody, you can drop back a corral with the lower bib number, but make sure you know where you're going in the morning. Each designated area has different amenities. Dunkin' Donuts hands out these hats usually, so make sure you get those early to help stay warm if you want. Think about bringing something to sit on if you don't want to be on your feet all the time. Some people bring like a magazine or something just to not have a wet surface to be sitting on, or some plastic bags, cushions. So think about what you might want to bring, extra wind protection, or if it looks like it's going to be rainy, so ponchos would be handy. One of my favorite things to do is the therapy dogs. They have volunteers with dogs you can pet if you are just getting a little nervous and need a little cuddle with a nice furry animal. But they have some great photo op opportunities as well. It's a big fun area. They even have news stations doing live newscasting from the area. So there's a lot of fun activity going on. If you aren't doing the official transport, the drop-off area is down here, a little bit off to the west, but be sure to check the information. So If you are coming like by private car, getting dropped off, they have drop-off areas also outside Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island. There is a bit of a walk. I think it's about a half a mile walk. And just know that because the bridge closes, you need to get there very early. So before 7 a.m. and traffic does back up. So if you're getting there around that time, you might be sitting in the traffic line for an hour or more. A lot of people are trying to get to the start. Also, you can't bring in any items. There isn't any gear check at the start village. All of your items that you bring in with you have to be in a clear bag and have to be visible. But they are very organized. They have waste diversion stations. If you have stuff you're tossing, you just bring it over to a table, give it to a volunteer, and they recycle it in the appropriate area. They also have clothes donation bins. So as you're starting, you can get those tossed off to the side. You do need to be in your corral at least 15 minutes early before your start time. So about 15 to 30 minutes before, make sure you've gotten into your start corral based on your wave start time. They do start a little bit later in the morning compared to most marathon races. So be wary that it is a long time before you start. So plan your morning, set your alarms, have breakfast, have a lot of snacks, have extra water bottles, have some layers. Make sure you get in your corral early. You can check the website for all the full details of the start. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And then, yes, as you're going into the start, you can toss your clothes. They have these big donation bins. It all goes to charity, to Goodwill. So make sure you bring some extra layers. You'll see people doing all sorts of things. People even bring little blankets. They'll bring old Mylar blankets to stay warm. Just think about what you want to do, especially if the ground might be a little bit damp in the morning and you don't want to be on your feet all day. It's not like they have chairs for 50,000 people. So, all right. So what the race looks like from the other side as you run across the bridge and you're coming into Brooklyn. So all the three routes actually diverge as they come across the bridge and then reconverge about the 5K point. I think I covered the finish line. I just want to bring this up one more time just to point out the finish area. So when you come up the finish, you'll be walking up into Central Park, and then you can come out at these different areas. So as you're planning your morning logistics, also plan these post-race logistics as well, so that you know where you're going to go. The bag pickup area is on your way out after you walk through most of the finish line. And where you drop your bag off is actually where you pick it up. So you have to go there early if you do want to drop it. They do also have the New York Roadrunners Run Center is not far from the finish line. So some people like to know where that is. It's not far from the finish. So if you want to, they actually do metal engraving, other things there. So be sure to check that out. There's a whole marathon pavilion that they do set up at Central Park and West 67th Street next to Tavern on the Green. They do metal engraving there after the race. So if you want to check that out, you can as well. All right, now the weather forecast. I know everyone is worrying about the weather. It is looking like it's pretty standard. It's usually about 46 to 55 degrees. It looks like it's going to be around that. I've been checking different weather forecasts, and they will keep changing every day. So don't worry about it too much. One of the weather forecasts right now shows a 5% chance of rain. Another one shows 12%, 50%. It's kind of all over the place. Normally it is cooler. It can be windy, so make sure you check the real field temperature and plan for any occasion. If you want layers to toss, we usually recommend either getting some cheap throwaway gloves or even just latex gloves to protect you from the rain. Having a clear poncho that you can toss is always a handy item to have, or just some old sweaters and sweatshirts, sweatpants, things that you want to donate to charity. Find something in your closet and use this as a reason to get rid of, do some early spring cleaning out of your closet. So plan everything, and if it is going to rain, make sure that you have a plan for that. You don't want to be soaking wet, standing around for a long time in the morning. So right now, a couple of forecasts show a little bit of a chance of rain, but if it rains while you're running, it should feel great. So don't worry about that. But if it's going to rain in the morning, just make sure you're accommodating for that. If you do want to see my whole morning checklist on the website link I might have mentioned earlier, I have a whole video. I have a whole checklist on different gear and items you might want to think about packing. I put it all in a big Ziploc baggie. and just bring it with me. So a clear bag that they can look at, and I'll have all my nutrition, all my snacks in there. I have big detailed checklists if you want to look at anything and everything for both before, during, and after the race. I'm not going to go through too much of this right now, but I will point out a couple favorite items for especially first-time marathoners. Make sure you have an extra pair of shoes for after the race. You don't want to be walking around in your marathon shoes. You want to get in a nice clean pair or some flip-flops or something, a little more comfortable, some recovery shoes. Also, A&D cream, vitamin A and vitamin D, like baby ointment cream, is really good for any chafing marks. So if you get chafing, having this or buying it at a convenience store is a handy item if you do get some chafing marks, or Vaseline or Aquaphor. Also, blister Band-Aids. If you do get blisters after the race, I even run with some of these in my waist belt, just in case I need them during the race. But usually for after the race, these come typically in a silver package. If you buy the Band-Aid brand, they're sometimes called hydrocolloid Band-Aids. Really, really good if you get blisters. So a little padded, cushiony Band-Aid that sticks on to protect any blisters from getting irritated. So definitely plan that, as well as all your snacks, maybe an extra pair of socks as well for after the race or if it gets wet. So think about your favorite little items that you'll want to pack before race day. All right, now the real important stuff: how to execute well. That's what we really want to talk about. So how to finish a marathon strong. One of the biggest challenges I give all of my runners is to negative split a marathon. And New York is one of the hardest ones to do because it is hillier in the second half. But negative splitting means you're finishing the second half of the marathon faster than the first. And you do that by fueling right, hydrating right, and pacing right. But about 90% of marathoners actually positive split, meaning they slow down in the second half. And you get a much better overall finish time when you can negative split, at least by a little bit. So either even splitting or negative splitting is the best way to perform your best on race day. You want to preserve your muscle glycogen, the sugar in your muscles, for those final miles. You don't want to burn through that too early. So the marathon is all about fueling and hydrating. So if you're feeling good, keep hydrating. And if you're feeling cranky, that's a sign your blood sugar is low. Start fueling. So just constantly be getting things in because you're covering a lot of miles and you're burning through a lot of calories. So a couple tips. One, and a good thing to know also, the race and most marathon majors don't allow camelbacks, like hydration backpacks. So if you do want to run with your own hydration, you can have the belts as long as the bottles are under 1 liter. You can have a vest as long as the bottles are under 1 liter. They have all the examples on the website, so be sure to check that out. But don't do anything new on race day. Just stick to what you have been doing. If you're running with hydration, run with hydration. If you don't want to, you don't have to. There's plenty of hydration stations along the way. But the goal is to keep everything balanced. So don't just drink water. Have sodium, have electrolytes alongside with some sugar with the water. That's how your body absorbs it. If you only drink water, you can end up getting hyponatremic, which means you have low blood sodium. That can end up causing issues if you just keep doing that. You're diluting the electrolytes in your body by doing that. So you always want to try to keep things balanced. Anytime you take in water, have some salt, have some sugar with it. But make sure you look at the course map, look at where those aid stations are, and literally go mile by mile and say, okay, at this one I'm going to take gel, this one I'm going to take a Gatorade, and plan out your strategy. Literally write it down on a piece of paper. That way you're more likely to stick to it, and you can be proactive about your hydration and fueling, not reactive. If you do end up, like especially after the race or even during the race, if you stop to go to the bathroom, check out your urine color. If it's darker, that's probably not a good sign. That's a sign you're usually dehydrated. If you're well hydrated, it'll be clearer or more yellow. Especially after the race, if you're not feeling well, the first thing you need to do is reestablish your fluid balance and realize your body absorbs water and hydration with sugar. For every gram of sugar or glycogen that your body stores, you absorb about 3 to 4 grams of water. So you always need to be taking in some sugar with the hydration if you really want to absorb it well. That's why when you look at products like the Gatorade Endurance Formula, they have is different from regular Gatorade because it has a lot more electrolytes. and it has the similar amount of sugar. So you're always going to absorb things better when it's balanced with sugar and electrolytes. So just be aware, fuel early, fuel often. There's a lot of guidelines out there. You'll see Gatorade has their recommendations. If you're doing over 3 hours of running, they recommend 90 grams of carbs an hour. Hopefully you've been practicing your fueling and hydration. But if you haven't, or you're having doubts, make sure you have enough. So just fuel early and often. In terms of fueling, I generally recommend during the race to have one gel every 5K, but it's also important to fuel before the race. And New York is unique because you might be waking up a lot earlier than your start time. Most marathons, you might wake up maybe 3 hours before the start time. And I have what I call my 3-2-1 fueling top off taper, which means 3 hours before the race, you want to take in about 300 calories. 2 hours before, 200 calories, 1 hour, 100 calories. And this is just to top off, the amount of sugar that your body has, especially the blood sugar, but what's in your liver, what's in your muscles. But because New York, you might be waking up 4 or 5 hours or more before the start, you might want to make sure you have a more substantial breakfast. So with New York, I do a 5-4-3-2-1 taper. And 4 and 5 hours before the race, I actually plan to have 400 calories and 500 calories. Because metabolically, you need about 100 calories an hour just for your metabolism in general. And so if you want to top off with a little bit more, you want to get in more than 100 calories per hour going back. And if you have 3 or more hours, you can digest almost a full breakfast in 3 hours. So plan it out, maybe even practice it the final days beforehand. I usually get like a protein shake because I have trouble eating solids. I might be a little nervous. So I generally have a banana, I have more liquid, and I have just gels and soft stuff that's easy to get in, and a big shake because I can just drink that very easily. But make sure you've practiced and have any extra supplies, so you're not rushing around last minute to get that prepared. And during the race, like I mentioned, I generally recommend one gel every 5K. So be sure to try to get that in if you can. This is actually my fueling plan for the marathon. I'm going to carry 4 gels with me, along with some salt stick electrolyte chews. And then I'm going to pick up a gel at each of the aid stations, so mile 12 and 18. And they do have bananas at mile 21. I forgot to write that in here. When you finish, a lot of people don't think about recovering after the marathon. They just want to get to that finish line. But it's important if you want to get back to a normal state, you need to get your body temperature stable. When your blood pressure and your heart rate drops, you'll get cold very quickly. So get out of your wet clothes, protect yourself from your wind, use the Mylar blankets and the jackets they give you to get warm and stay warm as soon as you can. And then start reestablishing fluid balance. So usually I aim to get in a water bottle, full water bottle as soon as I finish, full Gatorade as well. And then I try to get in a protein shake as well. And then hopefully by then I've gone to the bathroom. If you haven't gone to the bathroom yet, keep hydrating. If you want to enjoy the adult beverages, alternate them with water in between or a protein shake. Just to help rehydrate properly. And that's usually a good fueling strategy from start to finish. Morton Gel, by the way, the sponsors of the race that have the fueling products, the gels on course, they have a whole website with some guidelines as well. So you can look through their recommendations as well. Basically the same thing. They say one gel every 6K. I say one gel every 5K, basically about the same thing. Very close, regardless of the speed that you're running, that formula works pretty well. All right, in terms of pacing, if you're using heart rate especially, or if you're using GPS, a couple of things to know. GPS signals don't do well with tall buildings around. So especially if you're starting on the lower deck of the bridge, realize that your GPS data might be a little bit off. There are ways to work around that. There's different settings that you can adjust. I've done some videos on that as well. But just make sure that you don't necessarily rely on your GPS watch. Look at the race clock as you start, so you know what time the race clock is at as you cross the start line. And then pace by heart rate if you can. I have a whole video I've done before for our group on learning how to listen to your breathing rate and figure out what heart rate zone you're in based off that. But if you're using heart rate data from any smart devices that you've used, normally you want to be pacing somewhere around 75 to 85% of your maximum heart rate, or about 5 to 10% below your threshold heart rate if you're doing your zones by your threshold. So to negative split a marathon, you actually want to keep your heart rate closer to about 80% of your max heart rate for the first half. So you can go a little bit harder, 80 to 85% in the second half. That's usually how you can almost guarantee a strong marathon performance and a good negative split if you have your heart rate zones dialed in. So that might mean being in the green zone a little bit early on and then moving into the yellow zone. But you want to avoid the red zone at all costs because that's where you're burning more sugar as a fuel source. So I like to just say focus on your breathing. I like to listen to my breathing rate as I'm running and correlate it with my footsteps. So if I take 4 steps while I breathe out, 3 steps while I breathe in, that's a very controlled, easy breathing rate that is very sustainable for a marathon. Other tips for pacing, make sure you're running the shortest path, follow the tangent line, look ahead on the road and make sure you're not running on the widest part every turn. That can add up with the number of turns you're doing. So don't zigzag your way around the course. If it's hot or if it's cold, look for shade or look for sun. Try to optimize your performance for the environmental conditions that way. But more importantly, just smile. Engage the crowd. Feed off that energy. The energy you put out, you get back in spades. So definitely take advantage of that. And if you really want to geek out, I have a whole negative split calculation spreadsheet that I use for different races like Chicago. So you can scan that QR code or you can find it on the website. I'm not going to go through that in too much detail, but one other great resource I want to mention is RunDots. This is an adaptive kind of AI-powered run training plan tool. Actually, Meb Keflezighi, the winner of the New York City Marathon and Boston Marathon, he's one of our coaches on this tool. The neat thing about this tool is they have a tool called RaceX where you can put in your numbers. So if you know where your threshold heart rate is, or if you run like a 5K and you just have some basic performance data from any other type of distance of event, 5K, 10K, etc., you can put that in and it will actually take the weather forecast, the course profile of the marathon, and tell you exactly how to pace it and what your finish time will end up being. And we get our athletes within literally seconds of their predicted time. This is a very, very powerful tool that can really get you dialed in for your marathon. Also, if you have a watch like a Garmin, Garmin has a really cool feature called Pace Pro. And they just launched timing gates. So the watch will auto update based on where the race has the timing mats for each mile or each kilometer. So you can actually program in a negative split or a positive split pacing strategy if that's what you want to do. So definitely take advantage of that. It's a great way to, your watch can tell you if you're ahead or behind of your goal time. So some really cool features in a lot of the smartwatches. All right, so if you're part of our team, T2, we have some fun stuff going on at the marathon. We will have a whole crew out there. Usually it's Christina, the manager, the momager, and Jonathan Harris, the team director. We even have usually our photographer, our resident New Yorker, professional photographer. He's got a photo in the NFL Hall of Fame. He's taking photos, I think, of almost every celebrity in New York. James Patrick Cooper. We'll be out there hopefully taking photos of you guys. So we have our own private professional photographer hunting you on course. So be sure to look for the red shirts and maybe you'll get some extra race photos from the team. But check our emails if you're on our team. We've sent out a lot of details, some tips and reminders. Sometimes we have unofficial meetups as well, like Friday night for dinner or whatnot, or people will coordinate a meetup for dinner the night before. We will coordinate our brunch. So if you didn't get the email about that, make sure you RSVP if you're coming to our brunch. It'll be at the Skylight Diner. And then just plan your logistics. If you're nervous about anything, just leverage the team. Ask other people, link up with other people. It's a lot more fun when you get on the ferry boat in the morning with other people that are on the same team, just to help keep your nerves a little bit calmer and to just have a good time overall. But we'll also be having cheer stations alongside Team Fox, one of our other charities that we partner with. I also put together a crazy spreadsheet with all of our New York City Marathon athletes. And what this does is you can put in like what corral and start time. It'll predict what your start time is rather based on your corral info. So you can put in what you are, where you're starting. And if you want, you can list what you think your finish time is going to be and then it will auto-calculate the time of day that you'll be at all the different points along the course. So this is really handy for spectators. It's also handy for you if you're starting later. It will tell you at what time sunset will be happening on course. And so for a lot of us, as we're running into Manhattan, the sun will actually begin to set. Or if you're in the Bronx, so it starts getting dark early, around 4:47, 4:51 p.m. So anticipate that you might have a dark finish, which is a unique part of this course. Also, we have a new thing, a WhatsApp chat group. We have a New York Marathon channel group within our community. So you can join that. Both athletes who are racing and spectators are welcome to join that if you want to link up with others on the team. So be sure to check that out if you want to do some team communication around race weekend. For spectators as well, we'll have 3 cheer stations usually with Team Fox. So be sure to check our email for that. Jonathan might post some updates on this. If you are spectating, realize it is a big city, so it helps to have a plan for yourself too. So spectators can have a fueling and pacing plan as well. Spectators should also download the phone app. If you want to use our spreadsheet to see when people are coming, do that. Also pick a post-race meeting spot if you can, whether it's a restaurant or just the Runner Reunite area. And then obviously spectators can join our group chat as well if you're part of the team. This was also a rough plan that I wrote out for myself when I was spectating one year. So it helps to kind of think about your timeline, how long it takes to get around different parts of the city if you want to hit and spectate different parts of the course. So usually our team will go out to Brooklyn for a couple hours to cheer on people and then pop back into Midtown, along Central Park, 93rd and 96th, on Fifth Avenue, usually on the east side of the street or on the runner's left is where we'll typically be for our cheer spots. So just check for those details. We might coordinate more in the WhatsApp group. If you are making signs, though, there will be a lot of people with signs, so make sure yours are unique and make sure you set those up so that they stand out. The brighter and the more contrast, the better, if you want to get people's attention. The other thing I recommend for spectators is have a little SAG bag, a support and gear bag, with any little extra snacks, maybe some blister band-aids, Vaseline, extra pair of socks, ponchos, any little supplies that your runner might want, especially when they finish the race. So it's always helpful to think about what little items you might want to have. So you might want to coordinate with your friends for that. If you do need some photos, I'm now putting all the photos that our professional photographers take, as well as some of the ones that I took during our training season, on my website. So be sure to check those out. I've also made, I should jump ahead here. So make sure you're smiling for the photos because you are ready, right? You've done the training. You're ready to celebrate the victory lap. So make sure that you just enjoy the moment first and foremost. And then, yes, if you are looking for your own photos on the 4starendurance.com/photos page, which is where this QR code goes, I will post all these photos that I took during training of many of us, and also the photos we get from our professional photographers. I'll be adding on there as well, so you can find them all in one place. If you want to post a final, fundraising update and going into race week, that's a great thing to do to thank all your donors, thank all your supporters who've helped you get to that start line. One more thing that I've put together new this year is a link tree. So this is a little link you can scan, and all these tips, all these resources, anything and everything I basically mentioned throughout the season is on this one little link tree. So you can find links to everything, including the race-specific information, the course maps, and all that good stuff. And one final new thing for those of you, especially in Chicago, but even those remotely, I have a metabolic testing lab that I run called Metabolic Athlete, and I'm doing a new challenge so you can win a VO2 max test. If you submit your result, let us know how you did. We love to hear good and bad. Sometimes you learn more with the bad experiences, but if you've had a good race, whether you had a negative split or not, you can fill out this little survey. Let us know what you thought about your training season. Let us know what you thought about your race. And I'll be raffling off a VO2 max test, which you can do with me in person here in Chicago, or a virtual metabolic test as well. So if you want to take advantage of that, be sure to submit post-race and let me know how things went for you. And if you ever have a bad race, you can also schedule a chat with me and we can review some of your data, if you have heart rate data and pace data and all that, to learn and hopefully improve on your next race too. So my goal is to get everybody on our team eventually negative splitting a marathon and finishing strong. So I hope to see you guys at the, well, I won't be in New York, unfortunately, this year. We'll be down in Florida. One of our athletes, my wife, is running her own Ironman race and will be doing a marathon the day before. So I won't be in New York this year, but hope to in the future. But if you guys have questions, feel free to post them in any of our chat groups or just shoot me an email. And good luck to everyone. Enjoy the city that never sleeps and have that epic marathon race day experience from start to finish. Don't forget to smile. All right. Good luck, everybody.